going to go over the fertility therapy call. I don't really know what to call it. But it was a bit ago. Obviously, yeah, it was a bit ago, and it was when Aunt was visiting, Mrs. Aunt was visiting, and I went to a concert with her, and that was an amazing time. But we were in New York City, Times Square, when I took this call. So, the fertility therapy call was basically, from what I understood going into it, to check if I understood everything that would go into a child and the process, and if I had the correct mindset and understanding of what I was actually doing. You know, freezing your eggs isn't just taking something out of your body and putting it in storage. It's, in a sense, a commitment to a decision. You know, a decision on, do I let these eggs go, or do I have a child? And if I have a child, am I doing it alone? Am I doing it with someone? What does that look like? You know, what happens if I am doing it alone, or am I doing it with someone and something happens to me? You know, what do I want for the child's future? You know, do I think like a responsible adult and, you know, not someone who is maybe a little less mature and not fully understanding what their actions may mean? That is the kind of understanding I got from the previous conversation with this person. So that's what I kind of went into it with, and we were in the middle of Times Square by Carlos's Bake Shop, because Miss Aunt had posted about it, and she always wanted to go, and it was a big thing for her family. So we went, and we were sitting outside, and just in the public, and the first thing this woman said was, "Oh my gosh, you're outside. Are you comfortable talking about all of this? Because we are going to go in depth in the public." And I was like, "Yeah. I don't have really anything to hide. If someone wants to eavesdrop, it's fine. I don't really care. I am, you know, an adult making a decision about my fertility, and I'm not shy about it. I'm not really, in a sense, caring if someone has an opinion on it, whether it's good or bad. Honestly, I don't know what I was really thinking in that moment. I was just like, I have to get this done. I would rather not delay it. And at the end of the day, if someone listens in, oh well. People have listened in on my entire life. Doctors, regular strangers, you know, people you meet in the hospitals, people in my school. Everyone has overstepped, you know. Everyone has asked, oh, is it okay if we, you know, talk about what happened? Is it okay if we talk about this? Is it okay if I look at your body and, you know, I gotta do this, I gotta do this? Or, you know, I've acted, I've done a TV show, I've put my life out there, and my life has been out there far before that. So if a random New York City stranger or tourist or whatever listened in on this conversation, oh well, I don't really care. If they have an opinion about it, they better keep it to themselves, because I don't care, and I don't want to hear it. And so I just was like, yeah, I'm fine with it. And then we kind of dived in. She started talking about herself. You know, everyone introduces themselves and tells a little bit about themselves in order to make you comfortable in their presence. So she talked about how she's actually had an experience with my same doctor, and she's going through it currently. She is gone through the process of egg freezing, or egg retrieval, not egg freezing, egg retrieval, and is currently carrying. And that is amazing news for her, and I was so excited for her, and it really makes it a personal connection for her job, I would think, knowing that she's going through this and that she helps people go through this. or helps evaluate people that are about to go through the same thing. And at this point, I did know that I was at a point, I think I knew I was at point 4. I did not know I was point 1. Or maybe I had the idea that I was point 1, but no one had brought it up to me, that my latest test said 0.16, but no one mentioned it to me, and that was concerning to me because I would think Dr. would want to bring that up, because we've discussed point 4 and what that means, and that it is kind of the last percentage that my doctor likes to work with. And, you know, she had kind of reinforced that she herself was at point 4, and that is what our doctor, because we have the same doctor, had wanted to go no lower than. And that usually doctors, in any case, don't work with. That it's almost like a too late, or it's too dangerous, or not worth it, because the percentage of an egg retrieval is like a 1 in 4 anyway, so it's a 0.25 of a 0.1, and that is very concerning, especially you just don't want to ever put someone under for no reason. So she had brought all that up, and we discussed, how I feel about that, and I had said that I went on this journey a little later because of financial situations, and I knew going into this journey that there was a chance that I would not be successful. And whether I decide to go through with it, or whether it's too late in effect, or, there's just not enough evidence for me to kind of go through with it, because I am kind of a level-headed person in that sense. Like, I do want there to be concrete kind of, guarantee, and I would most likely have to do this surgery multiple times now, and I don't know if I have the finances for that. So I understood that no matter what, yes or no, that I would be okay. Adoption, surrogacy, donation, egg donation, sperm donation, I'm all open to. It's just, unfortunately, a wound that was reopened for me. We discussed how I started, treatments for cancer and stuff, and that at 16, I was really told that, yes, I could carry a baby, but the chances of it, being successful and, me being okay in the end are lower than most women, or most beings now. And that was really kind of my decision to not have children myself. And I decided that at 16, and that's a really hard decision to make at 16. And I think I went into my social separation almost because of it, because I, stopped growing, and I had to make a decision on children almost then. And my mom started showing me all these other people with dwarfism having kids, and, I know it was her way of being helpful, but it was kind of just like more turmoil with the situation. I decided very young that if I was not tall, basically, that I wasn't gonna have the life I envisioned. And looking back almost 10 years later, it's really true. This world is really, really cruel. And, No matter what we plan out, life just doesn't work out like that. But I wasn't as graced in life as everyone else was, I had to do a lot on my own. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it was very lonely. And I didn't have a lot of support the way I needed. I know. And I made that decision for the better of myself. Because I wanted, for the first time in my life, to be put first. And I was going to put myself first. And I wasn't going to risk my life for the chance of a child to be on Earth and then not have its own mother. So I made the decision that I wasn't going to carry a child at 16. And that was hard. It was terrifying. And, life got better. I, actually started to work on myself and started to be happy with myself. I had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of risks, and a lot of tiptoeing on the edge. I'm not gonna lie. And, working as a barista, figuring out if I wanted to go to college or really pursue acting and really pursue, being an activist for someone with a disability and dwarfism and being someone different and letting people, what they've done my entire life, make kind of gawking and making fun of me and, making sure I knew I wasn't like them. I've always gotten attention. I don't know why. It's like there's always been a spotlight on me, and I've never asked for it. But I kind of wanted to pursue that, no matter what that meant. As scary as it could have been, the world was different in 2019 than it is right now. Quarantine changed things. We're still recovering. And I had my first acting gig, and it was set to be 2 weeks before New York shut down for quarantine. It was supposed to be 2 weeks after, I believe. And I don't know, if quarantine didn't happen, maybe things would be very different right now. But quarantine happening allowed me to audition for Megan and Orphan 2, which I didn't get the roles of, but it got me in the sights of people, and I went back and I worked with people on Lacey's story, which was amazing. And then we got the TLC show. And I knew committing to that contract meant that my life was going to change. I didn't know it meant ripping open the wound of fertility. It was a hard thing to do a TV show. To be that large of a spotlight. To see that many opinions. To know that not anything about me, in 100% of me, was really shown. To adapt to people seeing a skewed version. But it was fine. I was okay. I knew what sacrifice I was making. I knew that the world was going to become a better place because of it. It was going to change people's opinions. It was going to help someone. It was going to help a kid. That meant more than anything. Because I wanted that as a kid. I wanted to know that I wouldn't be alone. And all I wanted to do was make people not feel alone. And I feel like I kind of did that. Even if it's for a second, for someone, I don't care, it does it. Going into season 2, we had brought up fertility. It had been mentioned. I don't know if I truly wanted to do it or if I was just okay with doing it. Doing every avenue to see if there was a chance. And there was a much higher chance during season 2 of TLC. I am Shauna Rae. But insurance was not going to cover it with them, and they did not want to go to the other hospital because they did not have permissions. COVID and everything was kind of bouncing back. They bailed. There's no other way to put it. They bailed on the situation. They didn't want to follow it anymore unless I funded it naturally, and I didn't have $10,000 to spare. That's what I was initially looking at, and they told me I had to do it at least a couple times. I was like, if I don't have $10,000, how am I going to have $30,000? Being honest, that wound being reopened was really bad. It sent me into another depression. And then I lost people during the strike and after. And we talked about all that, and how I was doing, and how I knew that there was very little chance, and that I'm okay, and I'm in therapy, and, I'm doing well. I'm doing much better now than I was 2 years ago. And, I was in a clear head, and that's why I chose to go at it now. And we unfortunately had to talk about all that. And it was in public, which was weird. But I did it for television. And then we started talking about really what would happen if I went through with this. If I froze my eggs, and then I decided to make a child. I was in a relationship, still am, and, being honest, they don't want to bring their own child into this world. If the child's in this world, they want to take care of it. But mental health-wise, they don't think that their mental health and their genetics are well enough. And Riley's the same. Major depression, anxiety, ADHD, all of these things you have to think about. And I was like, I've thought about it. My family carries the BRCA gene, but my mom doesn't have it, we don't have it, so we don't carry it. But my family carries a lot of cancers. We've had brain aneurysms in the family. I had brain cancer. It's not genetic. My dwarfism isn't genetic. But all of this could happen, and my child has to weigh this out. And, at 25, this is still a lot to take in. I'm very, in some sense, still young in some people's opinions. I know there's young moms out there. I know that people have children at teenagers and decide to have children. But either way, mentally, maturity-wise, it is very young. And for the way humans are living now, and the way our brains are evolving with age, deciding for the age of 25 or younger to carry a child, to have a child, is not as a mature decision as it can be after 25, when they know that the brain has kind of almost fully developed, if not fully developed. So I know all this, and I was 25 in this conversation, and I knew that my brain was almost basically fully developed, but I started this when I wasn't 25, and all these decisions were hard decisions. And, I knew that no matter what, if I decided to have a child, I had to have a plan. No matter what, I would do what was possible to make sure that child had a good life, to make sure that child had a fund, to make sure that child had the choice to make decisions in life, to make sure that child was protected, to make sure that child understood differences, knew that they were going to be treated different, even if they weren't different, because of my difference alone, let alone whatever they were going through. That my child would have to be mature beyond their years, no matter what, because other adults older than me don't even understand, and sometimes aren't willing to learn, and that's sad. But that's not on you, and it's not on my child, and it's not on me, it's not on anyone, and I would have to teach that to them, and it's okay. And, I had to think about who was going to be caretaker of my child if something happened to me if I did not have my significant other. And that was hard because, I have to think of my family and I have to think of my friends. And I talked about how it would probably be, my friends of the time, unless I'm really, in contact with my family and they're local, because I wouldn't want to have to move my child at all costs. But if I had to, I would want them to be close enough to their homeland, because home is where the heart is, and no matter what, their life is upside down. Losing a parent is terrifying. I've almost been there. To know that my child's life will be spinning upside down and who will best be caring for it, it would really have to be a decision around the time, and I would probably readjust that decision every so often. I brought up how I thought, decisions like those that have a lot of weight should be evaluated every couple of years because life changes so quickly. And I talked about all my family's positions and where they are now and where I hope they'll be, and we talked about, what I had kind of future-wise for my child, and, I wanted them to choose their own life. If they wanted to go to college, I would save up for it. No matter what, if I would save up for their future. I want, no matter what, if I have a child, for them to not be able to go into life with nothing. I thankfully could depend on my family and didn't have to pay rent in the beginning, but if I didn't get a job, I would have had no money. I would have had no start out, no payment for college, and I don't want that for my child. This world makes it really hard when you have multiple children and you live low middle class. If we can even call classes anymore. Paycheck to paycheck was my childhood. And that's okay. That's how most people in this world live. It's better than most. And I knew no matter what, even if we lived like that, my child was going to have everything they needed. Maybe not everything they wanted, but everything they needed. And, I'd be damned if they didn't have some of the things they wanted. And after all these conversations and these decisions and talking to them about ups, downs, sideways, every kind of avenue, I really have to think every kind of avenue out. At any moment, I could not be here with my disability or my dwarfism, my brain cancer, and the repercussions because of that. Maybe I genuinely do not know. But that's okay, because that's anyone's life. So, at the end of the conversation, she discussed how she thought that I really had, thank you for bringing me your toy, that I had thought everything out, and that I am right that I shouldn't have to do anything at this age, but it's unfortunate, and this is where we're going, and she's going to send me a lot of information because these are avenues she went down, and she knows the resources, which I'm really grateful for her doing. and that she's going to reach out to my doctors and give them her report. It's going to take a couple, and she'll send it to me, and it was really nice talking to me, and, she hopes that I do well in life, and I wish the same for her. Got off the call. I realized someone behind me was eavesdropping. It was some dude. And me and Miss Aunt got up and continued our journey. Reflecting on that was really hard. But I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad you were here for me. And I really hope that it helps y'all listening to it. Or seeing me talk about it. Whether you listen to all of it or none of it. I just hope it helps someone. Because at the end of the day, it at least helped me. I hope you enjoyed. Have an amazing day. This was fertility therapy. I know! Therapy! And we will continue on the fertility journey in the next video. See you then. Bye!